This video is all about small group instruction at the beginning of the year and how to set up rotations for success. So by the end of this video, you will learn all about how to go slow to go fast with small group rotations, management tips and tricks during rotations, and some other rotation ideas. First, huge thank you to everyone that has been using the responsive classroom approach and many ideas from the first 6 weeks of school book. So in our classrooms in the beginning of the year so far, we have brainstormed Chromebook expectations together with our Tiger Cubs in third and second grade and kindergarten and first grade. I know fourth and fifth grade teachers, you did it too. We also took the responsive classroom approach and came up with classroom rules as a class. And then some of you have been using the quiet time approach after lunch and recess for a few minutes to help calm the chaos before you start another mini lesson in the afternoon after lunch and recess. So we can do the same thing for our small group instruction centers or rotations. Before we start small group instruction, we can brainstorm as a class what those small group expectations would look like. You can do this whole group, or you can have a teacher station, and at each small group that comes to you, you can come up with your own small group expectations together as a small group. And this is just like another example. So setting up small group instruction. Small group instruction should be occurring daily throughout the school year, but the sooner you introduce a rotation schedule to your class, the more of a routine the rotations will become. Students will become experts at working independently and following multi-step directions. So to start small group instruction in September and beginning of October, you can start by splitting your class up into 2 groups. Start with both stations being something that students can complete completely independent. Think text station, writing, drop everything and read. As students are working independently, use positive reinforcement. Point out students working independently, raising their hand, putting completed work in the completed work bin by walking, pushing in their chair, etc. You want to celebrate anybody that can do things independent and are problem solvers, because this will help you when you eventually introduce a teacher station. Everybody else in the classroom will be able to problem solve on their own without having to come up to you. And this is just an example of splitting your class in half and just having 2 rotations to start with. You could have your timers right on the screen. And this is kind of also just showing you in the beginning of the year, we design our classroom environment. We talk about growth mindset. And so you can actually start rotations using responsive classroom lessons without having to wait until you start math or reading or writing rotations. And this is just another example of that. So this is another growth mindset activity. And then this is almost putting in a pre-assessment into rotation schedule. So the more you do rotations, the better the students will be at it. After your students master that, you are going to split your class into 2 groups, but have one of those stations now be a teacher station. You can have a writing on demand, that writing pre-assessment that we all have to do as one of the rotations. And then the other rotation can be the teacher station. Perhaps it's a friendship lesson in the beginning of the year on the carpet. When your class masters a 2-group rotation schedule with a teacher station, introduce a 3rd rotation. Split your class into 3 small groups. Have 2 of the stations be independent stations and 1 be a teacher station. You can introduce a collaborative station such as the Bridges Workplace or partner work at a later time. So this is just an example of what that could look like. And right here, this is, if you would like to, if this was the very first teacher station you were doing in a rotation schedule, you can brainstorm the teacher station expectations together at each group as your teacher station. When your class masters a 3-group rotation schedule, stick to a 3-group rotation and introduce one station being a collaborative station. Use the mini lesson time to model the collaborative station expectations and routines. During rotations, have mid-lesson interruptions to point out any student or group of students that are doing an amazing job at that collaborative station. So this rotation schedule is just showing you now how there's a collaborative station in the mix. So this is for math workplaces, so perhaps that this is a Bridges workplace game. Depending on your classroom needs, you may need more than 3 groups. Introduce the 4-group rotation model when your students are ready. Remember, so many of us are so quick to jump into rotations, but it is more than okay to use September and early October to slowly work up to the ideal small group rotation schedule. Classroom management with small group instruction is key. Speaking of classroom management with small group instruction, here are some small group management tips and tricks for you. The first one is all about the tech station. Keep the technology station at student desks or at the small group table if you are using the carpet for teacher station. That way, you can see screens at all times. The tech station really shouldn't be the rotation that you allow flexible seating where students are sitting on the floor against the wall so that you can't see their screen. For your rotation schedule time, keep the small group rotation times to 15 minutes. Set a timer for yourself or use timers on the rotation schedule to make sure that you meet with all small groups for the day. You can even have a timekeeper as a class job. And when the timer goes off, that student can go over to your desk, can turn the timer off and start the next timer. So that way you don't have to leave the teacher small group table at all. Manipulatives, especially in math. Let's use them strategically. Perhaps we keep them for a station that is on the carpet so that we don't have flying pieces. At the teacher station, you can model with math manipulatives and have students work with manipulatives in pairs to limit the amount of pieces on the kidney table. And then materials for small group instruction. Perhaps you have all materials at the teacher station already. Have a cup with pencils, whiteboards, markers, erasers, etc. Then there is no interruptions with students going back to their desks because they forgot something. Another tip is you can have, before you go into small group rotations, you can have a student set up the teacher station. This is just an example of that. But see how the name Juliana in the first group before the teacher station is highlighted? You could have this student, Juliana, before you have everybody go off into rotations, have Juliana go to the teacher station and set up all of the whiteboards, markers, erasers. Put the whiteboard down, then Juliana knows to put the eraser and then the marker on top. Or if it's writing and you have writing folders at the teacher station in a stack for each group, you can have Juliana go over and put each folder out at the small group rotation. So that way everything is ready to go. And when you click that bell for everybody to go to their first station, group 1 can just go over and sit crisscross applesauce and not touch any of the materials in front of them. Or they could sit at the kidney table and sit at a chair instead of crisscross applesauce. One of my favorite tips and tricks for small group management is the conference small group lei or hat, or in this case, a scarf. But you can wear a lei, a special hat, or a special scarf during small group instruction, and that means that you are not available to answer any questions at that moment. You're going to teach the students that when they see you wear that item, you are focusing on the small group in front of you, and all other students need to be problem solvers on their own. This definitely takes time and reminders, but this tip totally works. And this is just a reminder that there is power in whispering. Change the level of your voice during small group instruction or in your mini lesson. Start whispering and see what happens. So for example, you can change your level of your voice to, let's see who can go to their first station the quietest. Whispering has a special magic. And often We have a hard time controlling a rowdy class, and we can get better results with a whisper than a shout. All the students become quiet because they want to hear the secret, or they want to be the one that can tiptoe to their first station the quietest. Differentiated completed work bins is another tip and trick. You can have differentiated completed work bins, just like this image is showing you, to have students self-assess on their own. If a student is stuck, encourage them to write, "Miss Smith, can you help me with this?" on the actual independent work. And then they would place it in the "I don't know yet" completed work bin. This fosters growth mindset, independence, and avoids student frustration because they know you will see it and pull them at another time. It avoids the student sitting at their desk and not being able to complete an assignment, or sitting there and raising their hand waiting for you when you're busy at the small group table. Your "I don't know yet" independent work can be your small group for the next day's intervention block. You just go over to this orange bin, grab the stack, pull those students right away the next day. And this is just a friendly reminder that you can have differentiated independent work by simply writing on the independent work before you make copies. So notice that there's the triangle group, the square group, and the pentagon group. You could actually write group 1, group 2, group 3, or have a shape, whatever your small groups are called. You could take away questions or provide more space for specific small groups. So notice this below level math group, things were taken away, and an example for that group was provided because they need more support, and maybe a hint too. Then the squares was the on-level group, nothing was changed. And then the pentagons was the group that needs a little bit more of a challenge. And so a challenge question was added, and a few other things to push their mathematical thinking. Another one, or another idea for small group management, is to have answer keys and have students independently check their own work. You can hang up the answer keys next to the completed work bins, leave markers, and make a rule in the classroom that no pencils are allowed near answer keys and the completed work bins. You have the kids check their own work, put little marker check marks or X's. Then they can self-assess by using the leveled completed work bins. We're encouraging students to write with a marker, and they can write things like, "I don't know how to subtract ... yet," to continue to foster that growth mindset. And this is just something that I found. You can click this link in the presentation, but we can model and teach students how to use their Chromebook. And there's this little Chromebook bootcamp activity that teaches students how to copy and paste, screenshot, and a few other tips and tricks. The more we practice, the more independence there will be during rotations. That way you can just continue to focus on the small group that is sitting in front of you. Another tip, and I know that I came into some classrooms and we already did this, but another tip is that students can personalize their own Clever account, and they can organize by clicking this little heart, and it'll then go up into their favorites. So if we help students and teach them how to organize their Clever, they'll be able to get to the activity or the website such as Reflex Math a lot quicker when they're at that tech station. In that last slide, if I did not come to your classroom and help students organize their Clever account, you could just simply play that video and have students follow along. Another way that we can differentiate in small group instruction is personalize the tech station. And this is just a reminder that we could have each small group working on exactly what they need by differentiating Freckle. You can actually take away buttons on Freckle Math and Freckle ELA. You can have a different protocol for different groups. For example, group 1 may have Reflex Math 5 times a week, and group 3, your above level group, may only have Reflex Math 1 time a week for basic fact maintenance because they're already 100%, and they then might be working on their goal math domain according to their map data on Freckle. And you would just have their goal domain available just to that student. You would take away the other domains, the other buttons for them. And this is just a reminder that each and every single school year in September or October, we should be resetting student Freckle data. Freckle can be accessed at home. And so it's so important that we are starting each school year with where the students are on their exact level, and not like the level that they got to with teacher help, friend help, or parent help from the previous school year. And then this is just a video on how to personalize student dashboards and remove buttons. You can watch this video, or I can come in and help you personalize student dashboards. So the next couple slides have to do with Freckle, but something that you can do, and this is for kindergarten or first grade, you can actually personalize the textation by removing buttons, but you also can keep track yourself by having a Google slide and putting student names under here. Or you can print this on poster paper, laminate, and use an expo marker. So that way you can really show the differentiation that is happening in your textation. And then this is for the upper grades. And then these are just examples of Halloween party rotation schedules or winter party rotation schedules. If you continue to use rotation schedules throughout every single day throughout the school year, it becomes more of a routine and a habit for the students. And also, it makes your life a lot easier during class parties. And then the rest of these slides are just templates that were in here. Feel free to use anything. There's different bingo boards for almost like as a must you may do. I love to come in and help anybody get small group rotations started. I can help coach the students as you're busy at the teacher station. If you're interested, just let me know.